Welcome, everyone. We have the Syndicate Collectibles The Howling 1/12 scale figure. A couple years ago, we hardly had any werewolf figures. And I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden we have all the werewolf figures. Not even talking about the Wolfman, who for me, that's a different thing, especially with it being kind of a Universal's monster thing. Can't quite compare Wolfman to werewolves. We have not had an official Howling werewolf. We've had some companies create some products that kind of seem like they would come from the Howling. They're styled that way, but nothing really official. And it's interesting that Syndicate Collectibles was the first to do so. I think they also had a statue. I can't quite remember, but I know there was a statue that came out a few years ago, and then we finally have a figure. NECA a couple months ago announced that they were coming out with a Howling figure also, so you can just kind of tell there's been a marketing push to get product out. Which reminds me, the DVD Blu-ray of the Howling came out last year sometime, I believe. So it seems like those gears were turning, and this is probably our first action figure product that we're going to get. So just kind of amazing. So getting into the packaging, we have kind of this NECA style box. It does have a open, kind of like a booklet design. We'll open it and take a look at it. But just start off, we have a picture from the movie, a graphic from that time when the movie was out. On the top, it's just a clear cut, I guess, to let light in when you look at the inside. On the side, it just says The Howling. Still looks cool. On the other side, a little bit different. On the bottom, we have a UPC and some legal stuff. On the back, basically a bunch of the logos run together, the same image that's been on the left and right. So nice looking, simple but nice looking. And then we have this. This is kind of see if I can, there's gonna be a lot of glare here, but we get a picture of the movie poster, and then we get the figure, and there's gonna be a lot of glare. So let's go ahead and open him. And this is how he sits in the tray. There is a nice little backdrop you could keep and use. The cardboard is a little thin, but the printing is really nice. I really like the printing. And this is basically it. There's nothing else attached to the bat. You get a changeable head, and you get 2 extra sets of fist, claws, hands. So let's go ahead and get him all the way out. So here he is out of the package, and this thing is kind of crazy. Like, look at that face. So as you can see, he does stand on his own. He does have articulation to give him this, kind of dog-like pose. And when you go to stand him, you're gonna find that you're gonna need to, balance him like it's a real thing. So having the legs, the calves kind of behind the hips, and then having him lean forward, he's gonna have just the right balance. If you try to get him to stand up, human looking, he's not going to stand. Obviously you can get a figure stand and put him on it, but he's pretty sturdy. Like the feet are nice and flat, and they're big enough, and I guess they're kind of, they're not metal or anything, but they have some heft to them, I guess. It's allowing this guy to stand well on his own. So I kind of dig that. I was worried this was going to be difficult to get stood up and pose. Outside of that, accessory wise, you see that he comes with kind of like a grasping hand set out of the box. He's got another hand that's a little bit more expressive for both sides, yet a different hand. It's a little bit more open. So like very, very slight differences. Like if you can imagine a hand just kind of slowly moving, you got 3 instances, like 3 little cuts of that hand moving. So they look very similar, but they're quite a bit different. But if you lost one of these, I don't think you'd be too worried. Like they're like, just looking at these two, they're almost the same hand. Like the difference is like the fingers are just kind of slightly posed a little bit different. And then the head, you've got this crazy open mouth head out of the box, and then you've got a closed mouth head looking very sinister. So this one definitely looks like he's going to eat somebody, and this one looks like very sinister, just looking at somebody like he's about to eat him. It's interesting that he comes with his own ball joint for the extra head. So let's take a look at that. Yeah, the head comes off pretty easily, which I like. It's not loose, but it's not tight. And I guess while we've got this open, let's take a look at how this works. So this is an interesting design. As you see, there's a peg coming out with a ball, and then this sits on the other end of it. So you get like a huge, huge range of motion. And then with the different pieces here, they do a good job of covering the joints. Although you might have a little bit of trouble getting this on because you got to deal with all these pieces getting in the way. Actually, that wasn't too bad. Okay, so there's that sinister head. And as you see, you're going to have, well, I was going to say you're going to have a little bit of resistance pointing him down just because there's all this plastic in the way, but actually that looks pretty good. Like he can fully look down like he's about to eat someone. And at the same time, he can look all the way up. I'll probably push this a little bit more. That is just crazy. Like you could have him like completely in a, dog pose. So that's awesome. Let's go ahead and talk about articulation. So he's got a disc hinge shoulder. He does have a bicep, and the elbow also has rotation. The elbow can get a little bit past 90 before the sculpt stops it, and it is ratcheted. The detents are pretty far apart, but they are ratcheted. The wrists are on a hinged swivel, disc hinge with swivel on both sides type setup. So the back and forth motion can be in any direction. You just have to position that joint the way you need. You can see from the cuts in the sculpt, you've got a ball joint from here to the abdomen, and then from the abdomen to the waist. So tons and tons and tons and tons of articulation there. The hips are ball joint, and you're going to get a thigh swivel by the means of the ball joint. Basically, there's a big opening that allows the hips to rotate on it. The knees are on that disc hinge system. the lower, I don't know what you call this for a canine, but this lower joint, ankle joint, is on a disc hinge ball joint, and the feet are also. And as you see, there is a peg hole. Okay, so now that I have done all this articulation with him, we get him back in a pose. Yeah, as you see, he stands like a champ. Like, this is, whoever sculpted this and designed it, they did an excellent job. So let's do some comparisons. This is a 6-inch figure, and he's going to be smaller than other werewolf figures that have come out in the past couple years. But here he is with Hasbro Power Ranger, and he's big. Like, he's not small. I've got him kind of hunched over. You can imagine him a little bit taller. Like, that's a big dude. I'm going to put him back down just so his center of gravity cooperates. Maybe. Here we go. So that's with a Hasbro figure. To throw it way back, here is Toy Biz Werewolf. Now, this guy is a little bit more in the realm of Wolfman, but this is Werewolf by Midnight. So he is technically a werewolf. So he's bigger than Werewolf by Midnight. Next, we've got this guy. I can't remember who made this. This came out in the past couple years. This is a pretty impressive figure. It's got, cloth clothing. I think this guy was like around 100, and with today's prices, is probably be closer to 150. I kind of feel like the company that did this were inspired by this. Like, there's just a lot of similarities in the look of the figure. The long ears, the way the snout is designed. I think the eyes are probably the weaker thing about this figure, and he doesn't stand very well, as you see why I'm kind of holding him here. He came with a stand, and you really want to use a stand with this guy, but I can't remember the name of this company right now, but this is also a very nice werewolf. So next, you got your Fury Planet stuff. This thing is huge comparatively. I got him on the stand because it's a bit difficult to, well, he's not too difficult to stand. Kind of like to put him on the stand just to keep him from toppling over, because he's a little top heavy. But this guy, you can imagine him being 6-inch scale. You can imagine him being, 1/9, 1/10. You can kind of just be creative, but I think this guy is meant to be 1/6 scale, so he's quite a bit taller than him. And then we got Loose Collector. These things are just monsters. I'm not going to adjust the camera because I just want to kind of show off like how humongous these are. Like the Incredible Hulk version of werewolves, just absolutely huge. The only thing I don't like about these is the arms are so big comparative to the legs, but that's the style that they go with these larger characters. And last, just to kind of compare him with something a little bit different, here's the NECA Werewolf of London. This guy is quite a bit more like a wolf that looks demonic. Not so much a man as a werewolf, as a wolf type creature, but if you look at these two, they kind of look like they could be in the same universe. They share some, like from the product point of view, like the sculpt work, the dry brushing, how, you know, some of the detail of getting the mouth and teeth and stuff. I could easily see, you know, these two being displayed together and kind of fitting in well. While, you know, a character like this kind of gives a bit more of a comic book kind of vibe to him. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. So that is the figure. Syndicate Collectibles doesn't do a whole lot of action figures. They have a Pumpkinhead figure. That's their other figure that they've come out with. They do have a lot of other properties that they create and other products they create, but for like action figures, it's this and Pumpkinhead. So it'll be interesting to see if they do more figures. They could definitely do more characters from the Howling, because this particular look is just one of many. They could at least do 2 more figures, and that would be kind of cool. And then sometime this year, we will have the NECA version of this to compare. It's got some very similar styling. Again, you know, it's the same character, just a different company making it. It'll be bigger because it's a different scale. But that NECA figure looks like it's going to line up pretty well with this guy. So this is your 1/12 scale, and NECA's got your 1/10 scale coming out later. Thanks for watching. If you haven't done so, please like and subscribe. And as always, please tune into more videos coming up. Thank you.